Kenya's Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has said that it will postpone voting in some areas to Saturday. This is after clashes and violence between protesters and police made it impossible to get to some polling centres.
The Commission is keenly following the security situation and continues its consultations on the same, and we have made a determination that in areas affected, which include the following counties, Homa Bay, Kisumu, Migori, and Shire, and in accordance with Section 55B of the Elections Act and Regulation 64A of the General Regulations, the Commission has postponed elections in those areas to Saturday, the 28th October this week.
Well, CGTN's Robert Nagila is in Nairobi, while Susan Mwangeli is in the lakeside city of Kisumu. They both join me live for the latest update. Let's start with you, Robert. There were reported confrontations between the police and protesters and the death of one person. How is the situation where you are right now?
Well, for much of the morning, we witnessed running battles between police and protesters in the Kibiria area who were trying to disrupt the electoral process. Now, they did succeed for a while because at the polling station where we were, this was at Olympic Primary School, the polling station did not open until after 11 o'clock. And even then, there was a heavy security presence around there because the protesters kept engaging police officers around the area. They broke a perimeter fence, trying to gain access into the particular compound where the polling station was situated. In the afternoon, things somewhat calmed down, although we could still hear tear gas bangs in the background and what appears to have been rubber bullets being fired by police officers. Now, tonight, there's very high tension in the air. There's still a very high security presence, and there's a worry that the situation could escalate again into running battles between police and the protesters.
Thank you for that, Robert. We'll get back to you in a moment, Robert. Now let's talk to Susan Mwangeli in Western Kenya. Also, you've witnessed deaths of protesters and violent confrontations. How are things there now?
Well, Karen, the situation is very tense here in Kisumu, as it has been the whole day. And even as we speak right now, we have pockets of protests. We have police and running battles between police and demonstrators. And even behind me, there are certain people there who are still chanting that they're not going to be having elections. And yes, as you said, there were reports of death. Earlier, we had heard that it was one person that had passed on, but much later, it was confirmed that indeed 2 people were killed, one of them being a student. We've been trying to get a hold of the police boss, Leonard Katana, to at least comment on this, but that has not been fruitful, but we're trying to do that. But just basically, the governor of Kisumu was at the main hospital, Jaramogi Odinga Hospital, where he was able to condole with those casualties, and also at the same time, he was able to confirm that at least 2 people were killed. But then again, the tensions here have risen more after that announcement by Chebukati that there will be elections here on the 28th, and many people say that there will not be, and basically this has escalated tensions here. And as we are right now, we really don't know what is going to be happening, especially throughout the night, but we do know tomorrow we are bracing ourselves for another day of protests.
Okay, Susan, we'll return to you in a moment. Now let's go back to Robert. How is the vote counting going?
Well, it's going rather well, depending on who you ask, of course. If you ask the ruling party supporters, they will tell you that they're really pleased with the speed and the process that has been conducted thus far. Opposition supporters, of course, who are totally against this election and had been urged by their leader, Raila Odinga, to boycott it, will give you a totally different answer. But at the polling station where we were later this evening, this is in Kilimani, not too far from our offices, the counting, which surprised really most of us, was really fast. Within the first 45 minutes after polling stations had shut down, they were more or less almost complete, and within an hour they were done with the counting on most streams at that particular polling center. By the time we were leaving, this was about an hour and a half later, counting in that particular polling center, which had 16 streams, was completed. So it does appear that this is going to be a very, very fast exercise. Remember as well that this time around, this election was just for the presidential candidates, not all the other candidates in different seats, representatives, the members of parliament, the Senate, and so on. So it is expected that by late tomorrow, really, we should begin to have a very clear indication of what the voter turnout was here for the candidate, as my colleague Jane Keo put it, who's guaranteed to win incumbent President Uhuru Kenyatta, what his turnout is likely to be.